Good morning, everybody. This is Dan over here at Adventuring Today, and today we're doing a mile per gallon challenge with my 2017 Power Stroke Diesel Super Duty. The great people over at the Fast Lane Truck out in Colorado might have the iGauntlet for those great towing videos where they show extreme towing conditions and what trucks can do. Here in St. Louis, we've got a hill called Antire. Now, it's not quite the iGauntlet. It's only about 600 feet high. But this mile per gallon challenge I like to put vehicles through is a good one because it replicates what people do on their way to work. And we'll see what the Super Duty can do in the real world when confronted with the hill, some highway driving, and maybe a little bit of traffic. Hopefully it doesn't affect us too bad today. But come along for the ride. Think you'll enjoy it, and appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, so I'm starting it right now. And what I do on this challenge is I reset the trip odometer at the same spot every single time. And I typically try to do these early in the morning so that traffic doesn't impact me too much. Probably should have got a little bit of an earlier jump on it today, but I had to take care of some things around the house. So what I do is I get the truck up to, or the vehicle that I'm testing up to 65 miles per hour, which is the speed limit. So I've got the cruise control set right now to that speed. And I hold it here. Now there's gonna be a lot of cars that are gonna be going faster than me, and that's okay. But hopefully I don't get too many honks, because as you can tell, everybody's going faster. But I'm going the speed limit, and I'm gonna start passing this semi-truck here in a few minutes because we're going to come up on a pretty big hill that I would say is approximately 600 feet high. And this run is, really what I try to do with this is replicate somebody's typical commute. You know, I don't know what percentage of the population drives between 10 and 15 miles to work, but you know, this trip that I'm doing is, this challenge is slightly less than that, but a huge percent of the population is driving over 5 miles, let's say, to work. We probably all could agree on that. Not a lot of people are driving 30, 40, 50 miles, but you know, I used to commute 200 miles to get to my job. So there's a lot of variation here. But this engine is not even warmed up yet. I start this challenge about 2 miles away from where I live, and oil temperature is at 165. Like I said earlier, it was 75 degrees out when I started this challenge, and guess what the oil temperature was? 75 degrees. So I'm measuring miles per gallon, and the engine isn't even up to normal operating spec as of yet, but this is what people do when they typically commute to work or go to the job site. They get in the truck, they get in their car, they might let it run for a few seconds while they put their seatbelt on, adjust the radio and temperature, and they take off. And so, you know, we're trying to replicate that. So I've got a 2018 Ford Expedition, and you know, that truck has the 3.5 EcoBoost engine. I run that on regular octane, so I'm running 375 horsepower, and it's got a 10-speed transmission. So as it encounters these hills, it is applying first boost, and if there's not enough boost that can be generated to get over the hill, then it starts downshifting gears. Now, the beauty of these Super Duty pickup trucks, especially the Power Stroke Diesel, is there is just an enormous amount of torque. 935 pounds of torque in this engine. And so this is the first hill that I've encountered, and you know, we're just sitting here in 6th gear, and we added some boost to the motor, but you know, no chance of downshifting whatsoever. So now this is the bigger challenge. Virtually every vehicle that I run on this challenge does downshift, but not the Power Stroke. So it's going to build boost here going up this grade. This is about a 4% grade. My truck is it weighs 8,300 pounds. This guy's cutting in front of me, really close. Hopefully he doesn't make us slow down, but we're just building boost, and really not even a lot of boost, and we're completely maintaining our speed. So as we're at the top of the hill here, we're at 17.2 miles per gallon. which I would say is a pretty darn good number. And from here on out, we've got downhill and then a little bit of flat, and then I'll pull off on the exit and we'll see what our score is. But my guess it's going to be somewhere around 22, 23, 24, somewhere in that range. So yeah, I'm just trying to replicate somebody's typical commute into a job site or into work, or to go drop the kids off at camp or whatever that might be, and see what a vehicle can actually do. Now, I know I'm running this off of the trip computer. There's probably gonna be some people out there that say, hey, you know, those things aren't always real accurate, which is true, but I can tell you after 25,000 miles of driving this truck around, and I've got every single tank of fuel hand calculated at the pump, I think I've got a pretty good feel for how accurate this mile per gallon computer is, this trip computer is on these Super Duties, and Ford calibrated them really close. I mean, there may be times where you see a half a gallon difference, but they are really well dialed in. I've in the past have driven Volkswagens and Audis, and those are always really optimistic. You know, probably not much different than well, I won't bring up Dieselgate right now, but their trip computers are really optimistic. In fact, a lot of guys go into the computers on those vehicles and they change how the miles per gallon is calculated, because they are so far off. They can be off by as much as 10%, consistently high. And I've got, you know, 300,000 miles of fill-ups to back that up. Now, Fords are much better at estimating the mile per gallon and much more dialed in. So we've got about a mile to go here. Let's get a reading. We are at 22.2 miles per gallon. I'm going to switch lanes and come over here to the right, and our exit is coming up here real close. So we'll see how we do. I think this Super Duty is going to come back with a really strong number. Like I said, when I did my Ford Expedition, had about 1,500 miles on it. That came back with a number of 21 miles per gallon. Now, that engine was not broken in yet, and I'm going to redo that motor. I'm going to redo that test on that vehicle, because I do believe that engine has loosened up and it's getting much better miles per gallon at this point in time. But this Super Duty that is not built for miles per gallon, in fact, you can't even figure out what it is because it's not on the sticker, because the truck weighs too much, is going to blow that Expedition run out of the water. Now, I do think the Expedition is going to come back with a much better number when I retest that here in the next week or so, maybe in the 24 mile per gallon range. But this Super Duty, I would say, is looking pretty strong. So here we are, we're coasting, coming into the exit. I'm not doing anything different than just driving like I normally would. I just kept us at our typical, I just kept us at the speed limit, which is 65 miles per hour. And when I get to the bottom here, we're gonna get our score. So I am coming to the turn, and it says 23.8. 23.8 was the score. That is pretty strong. So I think that when you think about buying these trucks for miles per gallon, you know, you don't buy it for efficiency, but I tell you what, they do a lot of work, and these new motors are not only so much more powerful than the ones we had in the past, like the 7.3s or the 6s or the 6.4s, but they also get fantastic fuel mileage. So anyway, now my long-term average on this truck, when I'm not towing, and where I'm getting, you know, quite a bit of, you know, highway miles loaded as opposed to city, you know, I'm more in the 17 to 18 range, depending on the trip. And so, you know, you can't expect 23.8 every time you get in these trucks and go out and drive them. But this is a pretty difficult challenge for these vehicles, because it's a huge hill that you've got to go over. And I know on the downside you get a lot of that back, but the performance of the vehicle is also very important. So it's not just miles per gallon, but it's just the ease and simplicity that these trucks handle the tasks. 8,300 pounds is what my truck weighs at the CAT scale, and going up and over that hill is just no big deal. And I can attest that we tow a 11,500 pound travel trailer, and for those of you that tow with your Super Duties, you know that these engines and transmissions handle these hills with grace. They are built for it. There's not a lot of downshifting unless you're in real extreme conditions or it's really windy out. You got a big strong headwind. But these vehicles are really built well and they're super reliable. So anyway, with that, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining us today. If you like what you saw and heard here today, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give me a thumbs up. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye.